Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Billy and Joe Top 10 Show. My name is Billy Powell,
Hey, I'm Joe Carney.
and welcome to the program. Of course, Joe comes to us from Indy's Local Flavor, which you can get on Anchor.fm and you can go to Google Play. You can go to iTunes. Just type in Indy's Local Flavor in a search bar, and you'll be able to find Joe's show. Of course, my show is the Keeping the Nostalgia Alive.podbean.com. That's Keeping the Nostalgia Alive, all one word, .podbean.com. You can listen to our audio shows there, which is about, I think, at 220 now. But you can also, you're probably watching Joe and I on the Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show on our YouTube channel. Joe and I do a top 10 of several different topics that we have gone on and done. Today's going to be an interesting show because we're going to do the top 10 Indiana University basketball players and the top 10 Purdue University basketball players. But before we get to that, also please go to Facebook and type in the Billy and Joe Top 10 Show, subscribe to our page, and also, like I said, go to the YouTube channel, the Keeping the Nostalgia Live Show, and subscribe to that, and you'll get all of our programs. It's interesting today because we're going to do a basketball show. If you want to see a lot of photos, a lot of interesting stuff that you just can't type in and find on the internet, go to Indiana Basketball Memories on Facebook and subscribe to our fan page. We have over 16,000 subscribers on that. You can also
Oh, great.
go to Hoosier Hysteria. We have 6,000 subscribers on that. And if you just want to be a part of a group, just type in Indiana Basketball Memories, and there's a group that you can join. You have to answer a question, which is, what are your top 5 Indiana high school basketball players of all time? There's really not a right answer, or a wrong answer, but we just want to know. It's kind of like you're not a robot kind of
Right,
question on the internet. But before we
right.
get to that today, Joe is going to review college and pro football from over the weekend, and he also wants to chat a little bit about some stuff going on Netflix and on Disney Plus.
Yes, the NCAA football scores. I'm going to do the two games that were canceled due to the virus. Was the Ohio State Illinois game and the Minnesota and Wisconsin game were canceled due to the virus. Notre Dame, I believe, who's still on the top four, beat North Carolina. Iowa beat Nebraska. Michigan State surprised Northwestern. And the IU train keeps rolling. They beat Maryland easily. Um, Jim Harbaugh's done, man. He's like so done.
I think he's going to take over for the Lions.
Oh, well, okay, that'd be a good move. Penn State beat Penn State. I don't know if that'd be a good move or not. Good move or not. Penn State beat Michigan. Rutgers beat Purdue, and Ball State beat Toledo. Um, this weekend for Week 12 in the NFL. The Texans beat the Lions on Thursday. Texans played really well. Today, the Bills beat the Chargers. The Patriots upset the Cardinals. The Browns beat the Jaguars. The Saints and the Broncos are currently on Fox. The Niners are at the Rams, and the Chiefs and the Bucks are currently on CBS. Man alive. The Colts had a bunch of people out. I get all that. However, John Feinstein wrote a very good book called Next Man Up, and that's what I subscribe to. Titans dominate the Colts today. It was ugly, and also the Falcons embarrassed the Raiders 43-6. I'm like, without Julio Jones, and I'm like, really? So anyway, tonight's game is the Bears at the Packers. We've got two more games. One because of COVID got pushed back. Seahawks are at the Eagles Monday night at 8 on ESPN. And then the makeup game is the Ravens at the Steelers at 8 on NBC on Tuesday night.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, both Joe and I are going to dress for the Broncos for second half, and we're going to get a little QB playing.
Could be. So, have you by chance seen Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
Absolutely loved it.
Oh my, I just finished it last night. Oh my, it's the total underdog story. It's fantastic.
Absolutely loved it. And the sale of chess, the game of chess and chess boards and chess pieces are going through the roof just because of that.
I totally believe that. Well written, well acted, you know, totally believable. It was fascinating. And it was a really good look at the 1960s time frame at the time.
Yes.
But it was the beginning's so tragic.
It is very tragic, very tragic, but it turns out really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely it ends well, but the beginning's so tragic.
Yeah. Addiction sucks. So,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Have you seen them? Do you watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus?
I watched bits and pieces of the first season. It's a very good series. I just haven't had the time to dedicate, time to it to watch every episode. I think there were 8 episodes in season 1.
Yeah.
And I just haven't got a chance to take a peek at. I subscribe to Disney Plus, but I just haven't got a chance to take a peek at the second season yet.
They've done 5 shows so far, and 4 of them are excellent. And Carl Weathers is back again this time, and he's really great. He directed an episode this time, and it's really, really good.
Also known as Apollo Creed.
Yes. And he was also an Oakland Raider.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And I don't think as an Oakland Raider he was known as Action Jackson, but he was also known as Action Jackson, with Coach as the bad guy, Craig T. Nelson.
Correct.
It's an interesting NCAA football season, interesting with Indiana University in that hunt to play in the Final Four.
Why not? Why not?
Man, it'll be, you win, you beat Wisconsin, you beat Purdue. It's just going to be interesting to see how the world, if the apocalypse happens.
They were in the game against Ohio State. If that game was in Bloomington, that may have went differently.
Yeah, and man, it would have been the apocalypse if Indiana would have beat Ohio State, though. It just would have been. It just would have been. Or they would have done something dumb as getting beat by Purdue. But it's just Tom Allen's a great guy, great coach, and I just hope they give him what he needs. And after all this craziness with COVID is over, that Indiana can still continue and maintain what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So on the Billy and Joe Top 10 show, it is opinion, people.
Yes.
Because we're going to give some opinions here on the top 10 Indiana basketball players of all time and the top 10 Purdue basketball players of all time. And people are just going to go haywire on who we pick. I just have a feeling about it, but it's opinion. Right. And we would like to see your opinion also, even if you're disagreeing with us. I don't know. Was this a hard list for you to put together?
I had the internet assist.
Okay. It was an easy thing for me to put together because I did it first without the internet, and then going back to the internet, it was interesting on who I picked and why, and what it will look like. So I guess we'll start at number 10 for. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let me make something clear here first, is that ever since, at the beginning of the show, we talked about the Indiana Basketball Memories page on Facebook. It's a fan page. Right. And, when I first started this about 8 years ago now, almost going on 8 years, when I was being raised, I was raised an Indiana basketball fan, Bobby Knight fan, sure. IU, Hoosiers. And I was not raised as a Purdue or a per what. It was always Purdue sucks, or, there was always, going to great lengths to criticize Purdue University. But as I've been doing this, I have found out I appreciate all basketball, even if it's Kentucky, which lost to Richmond today, by the way, which is awesome. Richmond, the Richmond Spiders, the one that beat Indiana in that upset of following their national championship year in '87. Right. But Kentucky normally does that too, though. We'll lose to something like that and then run the table, and all we gotta do is wish and hope that they get beat at the beginning of the tournament. So, right. but just remember that when we're doing, I've come to appreciate, Notre Dame, Ball State, Valparaiso, Indiana State, Butler, you name the, IUPUI. So, I have an appreciation for the game of basketball. It's just like the question to get into our group of Indiana basketball memories. Name the top 5 Indiana high school basketball players of all time. There's really no right reason or wrong reason. Or wrong choices, but opinion, and that's what's so great about this game is keeping the nostalgia, keeping the memories alive, and talking about those players and what they've meant to their prospective schools.
Now, how I did my list is I alternated. I did Purdue first and IU second, and I did 20.
Oh, that's fine. Then that's how I did mine too. So
Okay.
why don't we go ahead since we'll play it like golf. Since Indiana has the higher score with 5 national championships, we'll let Purdue go first, which has, well, someone's going to tell me that 1932 was a national championship with John Wooden, and I would give them that. So we'll start with Purdue and go ahead and roll it on out, Joe.
My number 20 had a really great NBA career, Brian Cardinal.
Oh man, he's on my list. He's number 10 for me is Walter Jordan. Walter Jordan was an Indiana All-Star, won the Indiana High School State Championship with Fort Wayne Northrop in 1974. Had a great career as a Boilermaker. Played for the Cleveland Cavaliers as a great mentor for basketball players and kids in Atlanta. And just watching film of him, I would love to have him on my squad if I was coaching at Purdue or any other school at that time. Now, Brian Cardinal, which is on my list, is one of those guys that would just die for the. I mean, that's why he wore knee pads and all that kind of stuff, is because he dove for those balls and would do anything to get that ball or be in possession of that ball, and a great defensive player.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. So I have Walter Jordan. You have Brian Cardinal. I guess we're gonna go. Are we now going to go to the Indiana side?
Yes.
Okay.
My 19, people are going to hate me because they'll say he's too low. Damon Bailey.
Damon Bailey did not make my list of Indiana University Hoosiers.
Okay. I felt like I had to put him.
I mean, you'd be he'd be in the top 10 of Indiana high school basketball players. But
yeah,
if I'm choosing something that I want to win a national championship for, I have Quinn Buckner.
I have him a little higher, but yes,
I have Quinn Buckner. He's one of the few players also to win a state championship, a NCAA championship, a gold medal, a NBA championship. One of the few people to do that, and just a great leader. And a lot of people don't like his play-by-play for the Indiana Pacers nowadays, but just a great leader, great basketball mind, and great basketball player.
I've met him. He's a super nice guy.
I have too, and that's kind of a lot of these people that you will meet, or you'll have a different perspective on him, but he's everything that I just said that he was.
Yeah, he's an outstanding guy.
Yeah.
My next pick is at 18 is Jawan Johnson from Purdue.
I pondered that. I kind of went back and forth on that. I have a tie on mine with Robbie Hummel and Brad Miller.
Oh, I love both those guys.
Yeah, and it seemed like Robbie Hummel played there for 9 years. Same way with Brian. Same way with Brian Cardinal. There was another guy who played at Ohio State. His name was Jay Burson. He's the guy that broke his neck and he had to wear one of those crowns for a little while, and he came back and ended up playing. You've seen one of those players too that it's always on a team that you're trying to beat. You're like, gosh, he's such good on defense, such good on offense, but hasn't he been there? Hasn't he used up all his eligibility?
Right.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Miller played for the Pacers for a little while too, right?
Before he got traded to the Bulls for Ron Artest.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's head on over to number 9 for Indiana University.
We talked about him earlier. Mine is Quinn Buckner.
Yours is Quinn Buckner. Mine is Mike Woodson.
Great guy. I don't have him on my list, but great player.
I would have had him higher, but I'd have been crucified because he's a brought up a rocket.
Yeah.
He's used to come to some of the basketball practices when I was a senior in high school. Just a super duper guy, a little quiet, a little low key, but a great basketball player. He would have been an even greater basketball player if he probably didn't have back issues or back problems later in his career at IU. And went on into the NBA and was 6th man of the year 1 year. So Mike Woodson, Broadable Rocket, and probably should have been Mr. Basketball, but our coach was a little bit outspoken, and I think some people kept held that against him for his views, and everybody like we're doing right now, we have opinions. So
Sure. He was a pretty good NBA coach. I mean, he ended up coaching the Knicks at the end, but
yeah, well, and took him to the playoffs, which a lot of
yeah.
people can't take the Knicks to the playoffs. So
Playoffs?
and I don't, yeah, and I don't know if he wants to be a head coach again.
Right.
He just signed as an assistant coach with somebody, and I just lost Joe. We'll get Joe back right here. Just one second, guys. Once again, we're talking about welcome to. There we go. All right, man. Yeah, no, we don't need to start over, man. We need the guy.
I hit the wrong button.
That's okay.
I got a call from the school, man. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, man. It's all good. I kept rolling. This is what doing a video a video cast podcast or iShow is all about. Joe, welcome back to the Billy and Joe Top 10 show. We were
I am so sorry I had technical difficulties.
It's perfectly fine, man. This is what this is all about. But we were on. I was just getting done talking about Mike Woodson. Just got another assistant coaching job. I can't remember what team it was with because it escapes me at the time. But I don't know if he wants to be a head coach again. I don't know if you want to. Maybe he's financially stable, put his money where his money needed to be, and enjoys just being an assistant. So
yeah.
But that's my number. That's my number 9 for IU.
My next pick from Purdue is Etuan Moore.
You got both of those, and I should have them on my list. I don't. Don't hold it against me, but I've got Brian Cardinal on that list.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with him.
And I actually got to meet Brian Cardinal during the Final Four about 4 or 5 years ago when.
Oh wow.
When Dave Shellhouse came to town and stayed at my house, and we went to the Final Four. That was Dave Shellhouse's name is going to come up again here pretty soon. Well, not pretty soon. I'm sorry. People are thinking now that, man, this guy really doesn't know what he's talking about. But Brian Cardinal, super guy, great player. I think he had 6 years of eligibility at Purdue. So let's go with number 8 at Indiana University and the great Walt Bellamy.
I saw that. He's a little before my time, but I know his resume. He was a great player.
Yeah, I can't hear enough great things from Gary Long, who was one of his teammates at Indiana University. Of course, Gary Long is the father of Brad Long, who was Buddy in the movie Hoosiers, and Gary Long played at Indiana University, and still today shoots his age in golf. Believe it or not.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but Walt Bellamy, I just heard nothing but fabulous things about him, and it was great for Indiana University.
Yes. My 15 pick was it I think it was the first championship for them. He won at the free throw line, Bobby Slick Leonard, 1950.
Ice running through his veins.
Yeah.
Or pee running down his leg, as he's really trying to tell us all.
Yeah, precisely.
Oh, Slick, man. He did so much. Still around, still just as much a firecracker. Save the Indiana Pacers. Did miracles with the Pacers in the ABA. And his wife, Nancy. They did the telethon to save the Indiana Pacers, getting those 8,000 season tickets. And he also played for, I think they were known as the Minneapolis Lakers at that time.
Yeah. And he has many scary stories of him flying with that team.
Yes.
As in petrifying flying stories.
But a fantastic pick. The fantastic pick. With the NCAA championship of '53, which Don Schlunt was on that team also. Mm-hmm. And I also have him coming up in my Indiana pick. But all righty.
Next up for me is Purdue's Brad Miller, which we talked about.
I have Purdue's Tony Jones. I got to see Tony Jones play in high school at Fort Wayne Northrop.
Hmm.
Also a Fort Wayne Northrop alum, just as Walter Jordan was. And boy, they were just seconds and a point or two away from dethroning the Purple Rain of the Marion Giants, of winning
Oh wow.
three in a row
Yeah.
in '86. But Tony Jones was a great guard for Purdue, and I just he's not on a lot of lists that high, but he's definitely on mine.
I was at Market Square in 1986 when Anderson faced Marion in the finals, and Marion just dominated us. We couldn't handle J. Edwards at all. We had no answer for Lyndon Jones either. It was, and Blackman, James Blackman. It was like over.
Yeah, they fired on just all
Yeah.
cylinders. That Purple Rain for that 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
But and then but Tony Jones comes in at my number 7, I guess, on my list for the Purdue Boilermakers.
Yeah. My next IU person is the shot heard around the world, Keith Smart.
Oh yeah, I remember a story, and the story goes like this: is that Keith Smart was the basketball player that got to show around some of the recruits that came into the school.
Right.
And one weekend, Sean Kemp came to Indiana University. And basically, Sean, just right off the top of the conversation on doing the tour and the campus visit, asked Keith what he got for the shot. And of course, Keith said, nothing. Why? He said, you didn't get a car, you didn't get cash, you didn't get gold chains. No, I didn't. And I think maybe that's why Sean Kemp didn't go to IU.
Yes.
The Rain Man. Great.
Yes.
Top 5 Indiana high school basketball player, but went to UK, went to a junior college, didn't become the Rain Man in the NBA, and had a great NBA career. But
Yeah.
that's an interesting story about Keith Smart.
Outside of the glove, he was probably my favorite supersonic and Dead of Shrimp.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and then you've got Jack Sigma and Downtown Fred Brown, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Sigma was mine just because I'm just a little bit older of yours, and that's one of the
Yeah.
first NBA games I went to was the Pacers and the Sonics. So yeah.
Hmm.
So I have at number 7 for my Indiana University is Don Schlunt. There's a lot of basketball players back in the day before the NBA was really, what people played college basketball for, and what
Right.
once you graduated college, you wanted to play in the NBA so you could make some money. But the NBA really wasn't huge and big at that time, and
Right.
Don Schlunt was one of the first players that got to play all 4 years because the Korean War was going on, and they were allowed 4 years of eligibility rather than having to miss out on that freshman year. And of course, they won the '53 national championship, and you got Bobby Slick Leonard on the team also. But 6'9" center with a almost undefensible skyhook. So Don
Right.
Schlunt. Don Schlunt comes in at number 7 for me for my Indiana University Hoosiers.
Okay. Good pick. I wasn't familiar with him, but yeah, he's sounds legit. My next Purdue pick is he had a long NBA career. He may still be playing. Carl Landry.
Yeah, played with the Rockets for a while, and
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, was a University of Vincennes University Trailblazer, a junior college basketball player.
I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah, but Carl Landry, yes, one of those. He was kind of like Dean Garrett.
Oh yeah.
Dean Garrett was kind of a little bit quiet, and it kind of just, all of a sudden became a little bit of a force within the NBA, and they
Hmm.
ended up having a nice career. And now when they retire, they'll have their pensions.
Right.
Well, mine is probably too high on the list. Probably doesn't belong on the list. 1965 Indiana Mr. Basketball. Um, Indianapolis, Washington Continental, Billy Keller.
I have him higher.
I have Billy Keller on there, and of course, as kids from our age and our perspective, Indiana Pacer, and I can't forget that photo of Billy Keller milking a cow. There was a cow milking contest at the ABA. The ABA pulled out all the stops.
They sure did.
Yeah, to the point where they, I'll go get my gun at halftime to milking cows,
Right.
and the owners just coming up and giving them cash on the spot for a good game and stuff like that. You just don't see in the NBA. And if it wasn't for the ABA, there would be no NBA. Don't fool yourself.
I finally saw the Will Ferrell movie with the Flint Tropics, and I'm like, it was funny. I liked it, but it was kind of insulting at the same time.
Yes, it was, but I did enjoy watching it just because you can reminisce about the ABA days.
Right. Yep, definitely. My next IU pick at number 11 is, if he wouldn't have broken his arm, my friends, Scott May.
Yeah, 2 undefeated seasons in a row. It
Yeah.
would have been 2 undefeated seasons in a row. It's nice though that that undefeated season in '76. I don't think it'll ever be broken.
I don't either.
And I also think that that's the best team ever in NCAA basketball history.
I agree with that.
I think the UNLV running Rebs could have done that, but they didn't.
Right, with Larry Johnson.
Yeah, yeah. Now, if my pick wouldn't have broke a bone, there may be 6 national championships hanging up in the rafters rather than 5, and that's Alan Henderson.
Great. I wanted him on the list, but he didn't make it.
Yeah. And Allen wasn't one of those players where you like, oh, I got to watch his game, but he was a steady player, great player, had a good NBA career, first round draft pick. If he doesn't get hurt, we don't lose to Kansas. And I can't, the year escapes me right now, but we don't lose to Kansas, and we may have number 6 hanging up, and things may have flowed differently, and Bob Knight may not have been a Texas Tech Red Raider head basketball coach, but we'll never know.
Right. My next pick from Purdue at number 10, I want to say the 1980 Final Four, Joe Barry Carroll.
Joe Barry Carroll is my pick also, right in the same slot. Not kind of like Alan Henderson, not a lot of finesse, not a lot of but a good ball player. Went on to Golden State, played at Golden State. Now I think he writes children's books and is an artist.
Good for him.
Yeah, but Joe Barry Carroll, because especially in the 1980 Final Four, the Purdue were making a name for themselves, and Indiana was having a down year in '80. And but I agree with your Joe Barry Carroll pick.
Yes, he played for Golden State for a minute.
Yeah, he did. He did. Actually, another player from Purdue, Russell Cross, was played for Golden State also, and was a backup center for Joe Barry Carroll. So, but you can check him out on Facebook. Just type in Joe Barry Carroll, and I think he has an artist page or a children's book writer. And Joe Barry Carroll, if I'm getting one of those wrong, please, I apologize.
This person was number 1 on the internet site that I went to, and I liked him a lot. He was a great high school player. Played in the Olympics. He had a career in the NBA. Some people think he's the best IU player of all time. I differ with that. It's Steve Alford.
Way too low in my opinion, but that's, like I said, this is what our show is about, as being opinion. Within that slot, I have Scotty May.
Yeah.
Now I'll talk about Steve when I get to him on my list.
Okay.
But my list is basically about the college career that they had or could have had.
Right.
And I have Steve a lot higher. I do not have him as number 1, and I'll explain that when I get to that. But I have Scotty May, which you already discussed and talked about in that slot.
Right. My number 8 pick from Purdue, as we already discussed, this is Billy Keller.
All right. I have Terry Dissinger from Terre Haute, played high school basketball in Terre Haute.
Hmm.
Played at Purdue, just an outstanding Purdue athlete, and basketball player, and had a good professional career. If I'm not mistaken, he also was on the gold medal team with the Big O
Uh-huh.
over in Rome, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But all the highlight footage and all the old real footage that I've seen, uh, Terry Dissinger was the real deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I just I I liked this next pick slightly more than Alford, and that's why he is. But he was number two on the website that I went to, which um, but he was a great pro player. Didn't make the dream team. Isaiah Thomas.
Um, I do not have Isaiah that high. You know what? No, wait. Actually, I do. I have Isaiah in that slot, but it's also a tie with Calbert Cheaney. I think Calbert Cheaney was just a solid 4 years. Just great
Yeah,
ball player.
yeah.
Alan Henderson doesn't get hurt. They have a ring. Um, uh, of course, Isaiah won 2 championships with the Pistons. Had a
Yep.
couple personal issues.
Yeah.
Coached the Pacers for a little while.
Right.
But you know, Isaiah was more about flash, and Isaiah was more about beating Bird and beating Magic. And but in college, if he Indiana may have won back to back if he would have stayed an extra year. But the
Yeah.
interesting thing is that Isaiah has a really good relationship with Coach Knight, and I think he came back and he got his
Hmm.
degree.
Yes.
But I can't say anything more exciting about Calbert Cheaney. I know people are going to hold my face to the fire on Calbert Cheaney and Isaiah Thomas being a tie in there at number 4 for Indiana University. A lot of people are going to have them a lot higher, but those are my two at number 4.
I love Calbert Cheaney, but I couldn't put him on my list for whatever reason. But he's definitely a bonus pick for me, but I couldn't work him in there for some reason.
Okay.
My number 6 Purdue pick is I can't I know absolutely nothing about the 1932 Purdue squad, but I think what it starts the modern age for me is Rick Mount.
Okay. Okay.
So
I have Rick Mount higher, and we'll get to that when I get to that. Um, at number 3 for the Purdue University Boilermakers, I have Dave Shellhouse.
okay.
Beast, played for his high school basketball at Evansville North.
Hmm.
Went on and played at Purdue and just held records for years. Scored 56 against Michigan or Minnesota. I think it may have been Michigan. At 6'4", held the rebound title for at Purdue for years. But an All American at Purdue, was the Chicago Bulls' first draft pick. He was the number 1 draft pick for the Chicago
Wow.
Bulls after coming out of Purdue.
Wow.
And if you get a chance, you can look up on YouTube and you can find some of his playing days at Purdue. Just a just a beast.
I'm not familiar with him, but that sounds like a great
Oh
resume.
my gosh, just a beast. He also coached at Indiana State University and coached up in Minnesota for years upon years, and great guy.
My next pick only played 1 year and bent the rim. Big Mac, George Mcginnis.
All right, man. I like that pick. I got him higher, and I'll tell you why I got him higher when I get to being higher.
When you get to being high.
um, Kent Benson comes into that slot for me.
Great player.
Just physicality. He also, being able to score, being 6'10", 6'11", probably didn't have the NBA career that a lot of people thought he was going to have. He was the number 1 pick of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
But the best part about, of course, he is a 32-0 and undefeated Indiana University Hoosier champion from 1975-76. is that he is an even better guy than anything anybody else could say about him. Just a great guy. Will do anything for you. Will even give out the shirt off his back for you. Just a great guy, and very humble for everything that he's accomplished and been through and done.
Have you seen the Kareem documentary on HBO?
Yes, I have.
The part with Kent Benson. Do you remember that part? Oh my gosh, that was unreal.
That was crazy.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, this is my personal favorite list. Now we're getting up towards the top. It's my personal favorite list. So, is it the best for stats? No. Is it the best for records? No.
Same way here with me.
It's my personal favorite list as we get towards the top. My number 4 pick for Purdue is the big dog, Glenn Robinson. He was amazing in Purdue and amazing with the Milwaukee Bucks.
I got to see the big dog play in high school. I got to see the big dog play in college. I got to see him play professionally. I have him in number 2 best Purdue Boilermaker of all time. And maybe if he'd have stayed another year, Purdue may have won that elusive NCAA championship. But, you got to go where the money is.
Sure, of course.
But just a man-child in high school and college and almost in the pros, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it runs in the family because his son's a pretty good ball player, too.
Yes, I agree. I think he's with the Lakers or Golden State.
I don't know who he's with, but you know, just what a great basketball player.
Basketball family too.
Yeah.
Did you have him? What was your pick there?
At number 2, I've got Glenn Robinson.
Oh, okay, we had the same. Okay.
Yeah, same.
Like I said, my next picks are totally personal. My next pick I use Ray Tolbert.
Okay, and I'm gonna imagine that comes because of the A word,
Anderson.
Anderson. My second pick, and Ray Tolbert, another great guy.
Oh, without a doubt,
Great guy. And NCAA champion. First round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken, by the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
And even better person from what I understand and from what I've heard. Mine is Steve Alford at number 2.
You can't go wrong with that. You really can't.
And I'm a little bit biased. I shouldn't be, but I am, just because, I got to sit on the Broad Ripple basketball bench in 1983 when Broad Ripple and Newcastle played, and Steve scored 57 points.
Yes.
25 for 25 from the free throw line. I should have hated the guy.
However,
no, and went on. Yeah. He's an Olympian. Didn't have the greatest NBA career.
No,
or didn't have an NBA career.
But 6 seasons.
Yeah, well, but not a great one. Not what he was supposed to. But my thing is that it's the top 10 Indiana University basketball players and what they've meant to Indiana University.
Yeah.
So, or what they could have meant to I'm giving a little preamble to what's coming up, or what they could have meant to the university. But Steve Alford, gold medalist, has taken teams, deep into the tournament of the NCAA tournament. Had a great dad and coach in his father, Sam Alford.
Sure.
And I have heard very little bad about Steve Alford. So, like I said, should despise him for the 57 points he scored in that 1983 semi-state. But I don't. I respect him. I like his work. I like his coaching ability, and I loved what he meant to Indiana University basketball. And on a side note, I actually get a little credit for Indiana winning the 1987 national championship. I don't know if you knew this or not.
I'm listening.
Okay, so I'm at Indiana State University, and they take the time out, or they come down for the last shot. I can't handle it. I walk out of the room and go into the hallway.
Yeah.
And of course, Smart hits the shot, and all 4 of the dorms there at the quad go crazy and ballistic. I run back into the room. I said, "What happened? You missed it. Indiana just won the national championship." If I would not have hopped down off of my bunk bed and went into the hallway on the 10th floor of Cromwell Hall at Indiana State University in the beautiful Terre Haute, Indiana, Indiana would not have won that NCAA championship. If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to listen to it, does it make a noise?
Sure it does.
Just opinions, folks.
So you're very superstitious like Stevie Wonder.
I have a 90% free throw rate when I change the channel before they shoot and change it back as they release.
Okay.
So there's a lot of games that I've actually assisted in winning. The Indianapolis Colts Super Bowl. I turned the TV off after the Bears scored first.
Well, yeah, that was a T-Rex throwing to all the Colts defensive people.
And then I turned it back on and we won, and I'm still waiting for my ring. I should have an Indiana University 1987 national championship ring on my left hand and a Colts Super Bowl ring on my right hand.
Yeah, I'm sure Ursay will get right to you.
You know what else gets a lot of the New Orleans Saints fans really cooked?
What's that?
Is telling them you're welcome. And they're like,
"Oh,
what do you mean you're welcome?" Oh, we couldn't have let the Hurricane beat you up that bad and then not let you win the Super Bowl. And we already had one. So you're welcome.
That was Tom Moore. 3 straight passes to Reggie Wayne. That was Tom Moore. Yeah.
So that's my deal on Steve Alford.
I need to rewind for a second. When I looked up Big Mac George Mcginnis, this is why I don't like internet databases. They had his career, except they didn't have him playing with the NBA Pacers. And I'm like, really? He came back and played with the NBA Pacers. They didn't even mention it. So I'm like, okay, fine. My next pick, I'm a homer just like you. So my next pick is the reason why I became a Purdue Boilermakers fan is Troy Lewis. I saw him in high school. He was basketball, Roy Tolbert, Troy Lewis, basketball royalty in Anderson. So I watched him play his games at Anderson High, and he was tied for the state Mr. Basketball with Delray Brooks, who also went to IU for a while. And so that's the reason why I became a Purdue basketball fan, which is because of Troy Lewis.
And so you have Troy Lewis as your number one pick.
Right.
Yep. I have Rick Mountain as my number one.
That's a solid pick.
I got to meet Rick. I got to sell Rick's shoes. I've got to interview Rick. Does Rick think highly of himself? Yes. Do I think highly of Rick? Yes. He never wore high top. He always wore low top tennis shoes.
Interesting.
He liked he was given a contract option for $10,000 to advertise and wear pro kids, but he said, nah. and now when I did the interview with him, he's like, man, I think I should have taken that. But good guy. Yeah. His son Richie, good guy. His grandson, good guy. The whole family is just good people. His grandson works for the Basketball League, which Dave Magley, former 1978 Indiana High School Mr. Basketball, runs and started, and they have a lot of basketball teams all across the country. It's like a minor league system, not associated with the NBA, but it's getting basketball players out there and giving them opportunities and chances. And also Rick's grandson also works for them within the marketing division of that league, and it's gonna be interesting to see what the Basketball League will be able to do, once this COVID mess and everything is done and over with. But I love Rick Mount. Rick Mount made them change the rims at Indiana University once because it wasn't balanced, it wasn't correct. And when they got up there, it was right. It was not correct. And people can say what they want to say about Rick and his pro career. I mean, he was on championship teams. He was had a long career. Unfortunately, it was with the ABA, which you got screwed over in the ABA. Whether or not it was the NBA screwing you over or the ABA just not being financially sound or structurally organized better. But I have Rick as my number one Boilermaker, and I will. I don't see in that. I don't see that spot being taken unless it happens down the road here.
Yes, I agree with that. That's fair. My number one pick is Bobby Knight said, who was the best player he ever coached. He also had a nice NBA career, and he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers before they were the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bobby Wilkerson,
a Spider-Man,
right?
And another Anderson product.
Correct.
Yeah,
Anderson, Madison Heights.
Yeah, and nope, I agree with that pick. But you have him as number one.
Correct.
My number one is Big Mac George Mcginnis.
Oh, yeah, we can't go wrong with that either.
Can you see that he would have been a part of that 74-75 team if he'd have stayed at Indiana University?
Right.
Scott May gets hurt. You still win the NCAA championship, and then, of course, Indiana goes undefeated and wins it again in '76. Right. And from stories that I've heard, every time that Bob hooks up with Big Mac, he's mad at him for not staying there an extra year to put number 4 rather than having 3 national championships.
Of course he is.
But and Big Mac, could have been a professional football player. An Indianapolis, Washington Continental, Mr. Basketball, beast. I just think that if he would have stayed 2 more years or another year, or stayed, not doing that financial hardship, that the face of Indiana University basketball may be just a little bit different. I'm not saying anything against what it looks like today, but maybe it looks a little bit different with another banner or 2 banners hanging up. It just men playing with boys while he was in the Big Ten for that 1 year.
I agree, and I met Big Mac, and he's a super nice guy. Super nice guy. The only thing that I noticed about it is I think he has so much pain in his hand, he writes really slow on his autograph.
I mean, when you played football and you played basketball for as long as he has, it takes a toll on your body.
Of course.
It takes a toll on your body.
Of course. That's what happened with Roger Brown.
Yeah. And, people right now are going, oh, you missed this player, you missed that player should have been here, this player should have been there. Guess what? It's the Billy and Joe Top 10 show.
Correct.
And we do like you listening, subscribing to our Facebook page, and watching our show. But, like I said, it's opinion, folks. Don't get too upset at us.
But we want your opinion in your comments.
Yes, and we also want to know what other topics you'd like us to take on within our the Billy and Joe Top 10 show. So with that being said, Joe Carney is with us on a weekly basis. He has his own podcast called Indy's Local Flavor on anchor.fm. Just Google it. You'll find it. iTunes, he's spreading out. It's got some good stuff going on. And also you can, you're watching our show on the Keeping the Nostalgia Alive show on YouTube. And you can listen to my audio podcast, which most are about Indiana high school basketball. Just recently, we had Hal Morris on, who was a 1990 Cincinnati World Series champion, who played at Munster. That's what I think of every time I think about Munster High School. And just recently we had him on the program. So go to keepingnostalgialive.podbean.com and you can listen to Hal Morris's take on Indiana high school basketball, his tennis career, and of course the great game of baseball and being the World Series champion. Joe, what do you have coming up on your program?
We're going to do the NFL Week 12 wrap up, and then the Week 13 preview. So for fantasy, if you're a fantasy player, the playoffs start next week. So I hope you're at least in 4th place. So
yay! I'm in 10th. No, I'm in 14th. So I don't have to play anymore? Is it over?
I think you could still play in the B bracket, I think.
Oh, I thought the B bracket meant you be done.
I think there's a second bracket, but yeah. So, but the you have to be in the fourth place to be in fantasy playoffs. And let's see what else. Um, Last time we talked about our top 10 movies, so we'll figure something out. I do want to say thank you to all my listeners because we picked up 800 listens since spring. And it blows my mind where this podcast goes. We just got picked up in Costa Rica. So,
Yeah, it spreads out there. It spreads out. And I'd like to thank everybody who subscribes to our Facebook pages with Indiana Basketball Memories. Like I said, you can join the group Indiana Basketball Memories too if you don't want to subscribe to a fan page on Facebook. 16,000 subscribers on the Indiana Basketball Memories fan page, and I thank you guys. And please go over to type in the Billy and Joe Top 10 Show and become a subscriber and let us know what you would like to hear our top 10 opinions about. And with that being said, until next week, I'm Billy.
hey, I'm Joe.
And let's get off here and see who's playing quarterback for the Broncos.
Not me.
Thank you, Joe.
Have a good one, bro.